Legend, hey, legend. Get it. That's it.
All right. What's up, everybody? So we're gonna start here in just a moment. Let me turn the music down just a bit. We'll keep it in the background. Have those chill vibes going on. All right, so tonight I'm gonna backtest a little bit of a I don't want to call it a theory, but something that I'm curious about, that I've been watching over the past couple days. So I titled this "Unlocking the Power of Three," because that's really the highlight of this, or the not the highlight, but it's the most important part of the theory. What I'm trying to test and see how well it works. The concept of the power of three. If you don't know the power of three, it's just the concept of the three stages of any kind of market move, right? There's accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. So a lot of people will say there's power of three in every candle. I agree. It's fractal, right? But the power of three, the concept of the power of three we want to look at, is going to be focusing primarily on the 15 minute. The 15 minute in a way to measure the how far the stages of the power of three will move. Now, there's only two stages of the power of three that I believe can be measured, but we'll check and see. You know, the accumulation phase, I'll see if there's any way to measure that, because that would be pretty interesting as well. But as far as I know right now, you definitely can measure the last two phases of the power of three, the manipulation phase and the distribution phase. Now, measuring the accumulation phase and even the manipulation phase, it's not really important, right? Like, that's not the biggest part of this. The most important part of this is to measure the distribution phase, obviously. We want to try to measure the move that's going to get us the quickest run on price, and the most amount of points, right? So the distribution phase, you can see it here right in front of you, right? We have like accumulation, manipulation, distribution, right? So the distribution phase, is the part you really want to be a part of, right? Manipulation can produce some pretty good results as well, but anyway, the goal of tonight is to do a little backtesting. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do backtesting in like a blind backtesting with FX Replay. I would like to do that at some point, but what I really want to do right now is go through previous day price action and try to measure the moves that we already know, right? There's a very important theory that I have that could really help with day-to-day trading. So I don't know if I want to start with today because I already know today's. I definitely measured this power 3 and it came out pretty well. I guess we can go over that first. So today's action was a little different. If we look at the daily, right? Let's look at the 1 day first. So that's another pretty important piece of this. The daily bias, the drawn liquidity is pretty important. I don't think you need it to be perfect, but I do think you need to be considering higher time frame targets to know like what's a likely manipulation, what's a likely consolidation or accumulation. Really identifying those 3 stages of the power 3 is the most important part of this, right? So if we look at the daily when we were coming into today, well, first off, we had a Thursday doji kind of candle after a Wednesday expansion. Thursday we had a red folder news event, so interesting that we didn't get expansion through with that. But you know, we're extremely bullish right now, so an expansion day is always something that you're sort of looking out for and you want to try to be a part of. So coming into the morning, if we look at the hourly, we can see that so this was Thursday. The overnight action, I mean, it basically made a little like, there's some consolidation here. And then London made a little wedge kind of higher, right? Now if we're bullish and London makes a move higher, we probably don't think of that as manipulation, right? Since it's towards the draw. If London had made a move lower, I mean, that would be clear and obvious manipulation. So we could, you know, measure the accumulation here and try to see if it aligns with the manipulation move, and then wait for that manipulation move to make it change, right? Change in state of delivery, a market structure shift, whatever you want to do. And then take the last leg of that manipulation phase and try to project the expansion, the distribution phase. So since London came up, the, I guess, sentiment there would be that New York has a manipulation phase, and that London is in its own way a different accumulation phase. Now we'll look at the 15 minutes so we can try to mark this out. It's very difficult. And I guess you can say it's an expansion with an accumulation and a manipulation with another expansion event. So let's try to test that out, right? If we are saying that this is an accumulation, and basically we're saying that this is an accumulation without a manipulation move, with a small expansion and more accumulation than a manipulation with another expansion. What would we want to say is a way to measure this move here? Well, I think we could try to measure the last swing. And this is the part of the theory that I'm really trying to test out. One thing I've noticed is that, yes, like if you're familiar with fib projections at all, you probably know that you're going to measure like the last swing before a move to try to get an idea for how far that move can go, right? One thing I want to see is if we can measure this from the 15-minute every time and with the bodies every time using closing price, if that could give us what we want to see, right? So, for instance, so we want to look at the swings. On the 15-minute, we have a swing high here, and we have a swing low here, but that's not the final swing low, so we sort of ignore that. We have a swing low here, right? So what I want to do is measure from the closing price of this down close candle to the closing price of this up close candle on the bodies only. So this is why today was a little strange, because we have this two-stage accumulation. And I don't think it works as nicely when that happens. So here's another thing we can test. How about the lowest? Because we sort of have, yeah, it's a little weird to see, but let's try the lowest. Yeah, that works pretty well. So if we look at the lowest swing of the accumulation, this is why this is very difficult and why I want to test this a lot. We can see that we did hit our 2, and this is 1792250. We want to get close as close as we can, like to the actual number with the end of the expansion. This will give us a hint that we are on the right path there. So the close of this is 1792250. It's exact. Okay, I'm going to write that down. Bear with, please. So this is what we've noticed with this literal first example. I didn't even try to do this today. I focused mainly on the London section of this, and then the manipulation in New York as well. So here's what I'm going to write down. Asia, accumulation, phase, when London has no manipulation, projection from lowest swing in accumulation. Now, this doesn't mean it's a rule. I just want to note what we find, and then we'll come back to our findings and sort of have a synopsis, right? And give me 1 second. I have to let my dog in real quick. Be right back. All right, sorry about that. So that hit on a -2. Now, the tricky part here is that we have an accumulation phase, right? So let's say this, right? We want to say this is the accumulation phase. And then we have a market structure shift, right? So if you get in here, it's not really a market structure shift because we're like in a bullish accumulation phase, right? We have another little expansion move. And then we have this other bullish expansion type, or sorry, accumulation type section here. Now, normally when you start the day, if you're in New York, you see this, you go, wow, manipulation up. We're going to look for a sell day, right? The problem is we are bullish. Of course, we could have a sell day and sweep up some of this stuff, but this is some high resistance liquidity, actually. You see how there's a lot of resweeps and all that stuff. So we kind of have another little accumulation before. There was a Canadian news event that happened at 8:30 today. So you have a little bit of an accumulation before that. And if we'd want to project how far that accumulation could go, let's try on the 15-minute, the last swing before that happens. I think this one is one that worked better on the 5. So we're looking at closing price. That's the main thing, right? You see how we're from here, right? So it's really like here. Because this sort of broke a little bit, but continued. So from here, we want to measure before the break, the last swing, and we go by closing price, the bodies, and we see it aligns pretty well with the -4. Now that happens a lot of times when we're looking on the 5-minute. Ideally, we want to figure out a projection that works really well on the 5-minute or the 15-minute. We have a -2 here. You see we have that -4 on the 5-minute. And it lines up similarly with the bodies, remember. So this isn't a swing, and this is where I need to do a lot more testing. How often does that happen, right? It's not a swing. However, it's a down close candle. So if we take the highest close of up close candle, lowest close of a down close candle. Jesus, I keep doing the wrong thing. Sorry. Then that's where we get our -2, -2.5. That sort of kind of aligns with the 5-minute. 5-minute looks pretty good. But we basically have this double manipulation move that happened. 8:30 and then down, sweep up some liquidity. So whether you can figure out this manipulation or not, it's a trickier ask. The more important thing is to notice the manipulation, right? I mean, up, down, taking liquidity everywhere, and then putting in a change in state delivery. Now, I'll always go with a 5-minute on this. here's where we have the change in state delivery after that manipulation, right? Go back to the 15 and say, okay, we had a change in state of delivery. How could we project? Remember, close to close. This is where the rules get a little tricky, huh? Because that's an up close candle in the middle of this. Do we do close to close on that? We could. It'd be pretty close. But this is the one I think it is, just because we have this double manipulation move. I mean, that's really the swing, right? Close to close. And look at that. Another thing you'll notice when these projections line up really well, based on the bodies of the 15-minute, you'll notice a lot of times it hits the 2 and then it goes to the -1, and then that's where you're going to look for a shift back to bullish if it's going to run for -4. So you could have a 2-stage trade set up here where you grab this. Let's say you wait for the change of state delivery here. We can just do it on the 15-minute. You really wouldn't want to see the breaker traded through, I guess. So maybe like that. And then you go to the -2, right? So you have a pretty good trade there just on the 15. And obviously you can drop down to the 1 minute for more precision on your entries and better risk to reward there. I'm not going to do that because I don't really give a shit about entry. Especially for this stream. I mean, this stream is all about figuring out the power of 3 and our projections, right? Then let's say we do the same thing here. A long position, right? We have our change. I mean, technically, I guess, our change in state delivery is from this one. We can just put it there. If you take that to the -4, then you're talking about another 2.8 risk to reward. And like I said before, if you go to the 1 minute, you're going to have a better opportunity for entry there. So, but that's how you could frame like a 2-stage trade there. You see it gets in both times. All right, lines up really well. It is 1807025 and our high was 18071. So you miss it by, or not miss it, but it overshot by 3/4 of a point. Pretty good. I mean, close enough, right? So that was today. Could be a fluke, right? Let's keep going back. So this was Thursday's move. And this was the move that really got me interested in Power 3. You know, I of course I was always interested in it and I knew about it, and just from like visually seeing an accumulation, a manipulation, and a distribution. I mean, it's a great setup, and it's like sort of a no-brainer, but like how far you can take it. This got me really interested. So as you can see with this setup from Thursday, we had a very well-defined accumulation phase, and I would say it probably stopped right there, right? Which is ironic because where does it stop? It stops at London Open, right? So we have an accumulation phase here. We have a clear manipulation phase, and actually it's more of just this, I guess. But I want to make a clear breakaway from accumulation. Okay, shift. How far can we take it? We know it's a shift when this closes, right? So I guess we can include that in our manipulation. And we know this is a shift when this this one closes. So our manipulation, I guess, is more like this, right? So there's our manipulation move, and then we have a distribution move. Now, let's try to do the same exercise and project where these could go. So if this is our accumulation, because it's everything before we break that pattern, we're on a 15-minute. Let's go bodies only. Remember, close to close, highest close, not open, low, shit, I did it again. Highest close, lowest close. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Of the last leg. Now, what did we note earlier? We noted that Asia accumulation, maybe we could take the lowest. That's when the manipulation was up. So we really would want to say the highest. I don't know how well this will work. Let's see. So if we take the highest of this accumulation, I think this is where the accumulation starts. This is a little bit of a retracement, and then we come back into this range. We start accumulating. So let's try this. Highest close. Ah, shit. That's actually highest close, though. Highest close. Lowest close of the entire range. That would be right there. It doesn't really work, does it? Oh, wait. Yeah, that's a close. Yeah, I think we should stick with the swing. If we say lowest close swing, it would be something like this. That's okay. I mean, all of these are very similar because Asia didn't really move too much in this case. I mean, that's a pretty good one. That's not highest close. It's not lowest close. So I'm not going to go with that. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go with the last swing. I mean, that really seems to make the most sense. Obviously, precision is what we're going for. We're going to try to figure out what kind of precision makes the most sense. I want to stick with bodies tonight. We'll see how well bodies work. A 15-minute only. Only 15-minute, only bodies. All right, so clearly this is our manipulation phase. And where is our last swing? Well, we want the lowest body and highest body. That's pretty good right there. That is pretty good. Now, one thing we noticed before, we had a hit. So the same thing on the distribution from today happened Thursday. We had a hit on -2. Actually, a hit to negative. Well, it bounced around a couple times, right? Hit to -2, -2.5-ish area, come back into -1 before a close above and hit on -4. Now this move went a little quick and it wasn't as many points. But like I said, we're on a 15-minute. So if you're looking for precision entries, always have your 15-minute there for measuring these moves. And then you can have the 1 minute for a precision entry, right? So that one works pretty well. That's what got me started on this. So hopefully that works well. It'd be bad if it didn't. I haven't used the 15-minute bodies idea until tonight. I was playing around with some charts earlier today, and I'm like, look. And the the little saying that ICT has just kept running through my head. The wicks do the damage, the bodies tell the story. The wicks do the damage, the bodies. How many times does he say that? All the time, right? So I'm like, man, why don't I ignore wicks? Why don't I go with 15 minute? Because it's a good way to measure the day. Ignore wicks always. I was ignoring wicks on news events because usually wicks were really long for that on the 15 minute. And you'd like sort of cut the wick out because it would be a ridiculous projection if you didn't. But then I got to thinking, man, what if I tried just doing bodies every time, no matter what the conditions are? That's what we're doing. All right, so let's go to, so we did Thursday, we did Friday, we did Thursday. They both work pretty well. I'm going to say really well. All right, let's look at Wednesday. So Wednesday open is, what, 1800 on Tuesday. So here's the open. And another little, I mean, I think this was a continuation of the retrace from that move on Tuesday. And then we go into the consolidation, right? We go into the consolidation, aka accumulation phase here until what? 4:15. Not London Open, actually. JK. Right here is where we break structure on a 15 minute. 3:45. So once again, not right at London Open, but pretty freaking close. I would call this the accumulation phase. And really, we just kept accumulating in London, huh? Oh, this is tricky. All right. Here's the tricky part. Identifying the AMD. This is always going to be the tricky part. So, the question is, do we say accumulation, manipulation, distribution? I don't know. I don't really think so. I think this is similar to like today, right? So I almost want to say, well, first off, let's see if we can measure. Let's say if this is the accumulation. Let's see if we can measure the London move before this manipulation takes us higher. So we would be talking about the lowest swing, or lowest close of the final swing to highest close of the final swing. Okay. So our 2.5 is a pretty good measurement. Liking that. Then if we say, okay, this is the London partially distribution and additional accumulation phase before the 7:30. What did we have Wednesday that set this thing off so early? What was it? Was there some news? I feel like there wasn't. So I think, like I was saying, I think we have a similar situation where, let's take this back, where the manipulation is actually like a 2-stage kind of thing, manipulation, manipulation, and then shoot off. So if we determine that this whole thing is the manipulation, which looks weird, and we play some sort of, I mean, really, you're really taking this, right? I mean, this makes way more sense. But it's like we get another accumulation stage here with its own manipulation, which I guess that makes sense. So we project that out. Let's do this again. We project out the -2 and we say, okay, we have a little distribution to -2. And then we go into a small accumulation phase. And we have another manipulation event that goes down. Right? I'm just spitballing here because this is a more difficult thing to measure. Now if we took that same logic, the swing here is very interesting. Because the swing here, the bodies are very tiny. Oops, wrong tool. So obviously, we wouldn't want that type of body. What if we did wicks? Oh, that's pretty fucking good. What I wonder here, is this something that I should be measuring on the 5-minute? With the way that the swings worked out? Now if we did that, that is what our... Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense. This is a more difficult one, huh? Trying to look at this previous action. You know, obviously this is an accumulation. We change. This one looks much cleaner than Wednesday. If we say this is the manipulation, yeah, it's not great. It's just like not a move for this time frame. And I guess that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't have to be a move for this time frame, right? Now, if we declare that this is the manipulation move, which isn't a bad idea, then we can say this is just, you know, a little accumulation before we take off. And we hit -4 here. So I guess that makes a lot more sense. We have an early manipulation. London starts the move and a continuation. And then And then we would say this is over. And we'd measure the final move from the manipulation of New York Open. That works, you know. We have New York Open, manipulation. Like I said, if you drop down on the 1 minute, I'm sure there's some kind of entry in this area here. And you know what? Let's just go ahead. Let's highlight this area. And let's see if we can find some sort of move, because that's a good measure right there to the -2. And that would be a really solid win. So let's see if there's something that you could find in this little bit of muck here, right? It's not that pretty. All right, clearly we have manipulation. This is on a 1 minute chart now. Clearly we have manipulation on New York Open. We get what looks like is a shift and then a re-sweep down here. So if we wait for 10 a.m., which is ICT Silver Bullet, right? We would get entry. We wouldn't even really get entry on the 1 minute. I mean, this thing just took off, right? After this manipulation phase here. Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I like the projection, and maybe what you could do is, if you're feeling confident with the projection, you could get in yeah, that's it. Look at that. Lowest close. You drop down the 1 minute. This is fractal, right? So -2, -2.5. We're done with the move, right? It does a false move. Comes back and resweeps. Little 3 drives kind of situation. And then you could take like that's tough entry right there. That's really tough entry. Grab that low. That's interesting. Yeah, that's just a tough entry. I'm not really sure how we'd get in that, but the projections still work. That would just be a tough day to get in and take advantage of that. London was much better, but this was just a little messy in New York. So projections worked well. More difficult of a day on that Wednesday. Let's go back to Tuesday. So we'll just do this week and then we can call it quits. So what happened Wednesday, right? We have accumulation phase right here until it breaks there. Right? It doesn't really matter how we mark this out, but let's mark it here. So there's our accumulation phase. We have another one of these interesting accumulation to the upside, manipulation to the downside, a fake distribution phase, and the real distribution phase. So this is definitely more difficult. Let's see if we can measure the move down to here by looking at our bodies. Highest high, lowest low. Yep. Fucking holy shit. Highest close, lowest close of the last swing. Oh, sorry. Highest to lowest. Lowest? Yeah. Of the last swing. This would not count. So that's pretty good. 1760 176.050. What's the low of that? 176.050. Yep. That's it right there. Bodies. The bodies tell the story. If we did the same here, lowest low, highest high, we get to our -4, 4.5 area. Now, if we said this, obviously, that wouldn't be it, but we had a little swing here, so we could measure that distribution, I guess. You could call that the distribution up. And then how do we measure the actual distribution? Lowest close, highest, sorry. Highest closed, lowest close. Yeah, this one's a tricky one too. I mean, I guess we would do the same one. The same swing here. What a strange one. On this one, I would probably drop to the 5. Oh, sorry. So if we drop to the 5, because the move just happened way quick, we can see here, that's a pretty good projection there. And then if we have a projection here, highest close, lowest close. Yeah, pretty fucking good. -2, -2.5. Messes around as soon as it closes, or as soon as it shifts back, it makes for that -4. I mean, I'm beginning to build a lot of trust in the -4 doing this. Lowest to highest. Bodies only. Fucking wicks, man. No one needs wicks. So that's a good one. Obviously, this is going to take a lot of time and practice to be able to see this live and execute. But that's why we're doing this little session here, so I can try to get a little more familiar. Okay, so Monday, last day of the week that we're going to do. We really have accumulation all throughout Asia and London. We have a little bit of a V action. That's tough. Talk about tough. That one's tough. Accumulation phase. The whole thing is an accumulation phase. Now you could say, and I think we had an SMT here, that the manipulation happened in New York with the push up. So if that's the case, we could probably measure the push down by doing this. Not very good. What about that? Yeah, that's better. And then for that move, since it was so quick, let's go to the 5. Oh, this was yeah, this was a high impact news event. That's right. So if we go into 5 with this, we could probably get a better measurement. Yeah, -2, -2.5. It's not bad. It's not a bad measurement. But as far as this is concerned, I think what we'd want to do is this. Yeah, it's hard to say that's good. Guess you could do that. Yeah. It's hard to say that's good because it does miss. That's technically, oh shit, yep. The last swing of the manipulation. Sorry, I had it backwards. I was doing the first swing. Last swing, body to body. To the tick, baby. And this was at 2:45. We hit 1774550. Fucking perfect. Jesus, dude. Bodies. Bodies. This is just confirming it for me that it's the bodies. When 15 minutes is too long, drop to the 5. That's what I'm seeing. When 15 minutes is too long, drop to the 5. This is fucking great. This is a little bit of a manipulation move. Yeah. All right, well, you know, obviously the key, as I said earlier, in this whole thing is being able to identify the AMD in the Power 3, right? The accumulation, manipulation, distribution phases. What I really want to try to focus on is the first two, right? If I can identify the accumulation and the manipulation in real time, then I have a good feeling that I'll be able to measure the distribution. I can use the measurement of the accumulation to say, yep, that makes sense for the manipulation to be over. Okay, manipulation is over. I'm in the trade. Where are we going? Right? If we can do that, then we're killing it. We're killing it. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me try to figure out these Power 3 projections. I hope you learned a little bit. I know I sure did. I'll keep trying to do these until I'm a fucking master, all right? And whether you watch or not, I'll share what I learn as I go, and we can all become masters of the Power 3 together. All right. Well, happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. See you Monday.